Good day, class. I would like to welcome you all to another captivating, another insightful, and another invigorating week of our entrepreneurial finance course. My name is Tavari Curtin of Group 3, and accompanying me today are my colleagues, Melicia Jones and Nakita Liebert. In this week's presentation, we will be exploring the various stages and types of financing. Therefore, our objectives are as follows: to identify and describe the stages of successful ventures life cycle, to associate the corresponding types of financing and investors to the life cycle, and to differentiate between the internal and external sources of financing. I now hand you over to Melicia, who will guide you through the stages in business development financing.
Thank you for your introduction, Tavari. Today, we will be looking at the stages and types of financing. But first, what is financing? Financing is the process of funding business activities, making purchases, or investing. Financing is necessary for the firm to progress from the idea phase to the commercialization phase. You may ask, why is financing important? A sound understanding of financing allows the entrepreneur to be in total control of his or her business. Businesses generally need finance to pay for premises, new equipment, and advertising, especially when they're starting a business. In the day-to-day running of the business, financing is needed to ensure that there is enough cash to pay for staff and supplies on time, as well as to pay for day-to-day activities. When a business is expanding, financing is needed to have funds to pay for a new branch in a different location. Now, what are the stages in business development financing? There are 3 stages that we can consider: early stage financing, expansion or development financing, and acquisition and leverage buyout financing. Let's start with early stage financing. This is essential when moving from the startup to the real business life cycle. It is the first of 3 stages of a business's development. The next stage, expansion or development financing, speaks to the type of funding that provides operating cash for the initial development of a firm that is manufacturing and distributing a product and has rising accounts receivables and inventories. And lastly, acquisition and leverage buyout financing. Acquisition finance enables a firm to purchase certain pieces or the complete company. A leverage buyout is the acquisition of another business using a large amount of borrowed monies, be it bonds or loans, to cover the acquisition costs. Now let us delve deeper into each stage. For the early stage financing, if we look at seed capital, this refers to the kind of finance utilized to establish a business. It involves a limited amount of capital being provided to an entrepreneur to develop a concept before the final product or company is established. Seed capital may originate from sources close to its founders, such as family, friends, and/or acquaintances. Startup capital refers to the money raised by a new firm to cover its first expenditures, whether it's salaries, office space, inventory, and so on. Startups customarily start with an idea that has matured in the research unit of a large corporation or a university. In many situations, new firms need more than one round of startup capital investment to get off the ground. Once a company has reached the development or expansion stage, then we now look at different financing stages. The second stage speaks to working capital being supplied to support the growth of a business that manufactures and ships items and needs support for rising or increasing account receivables and inventories. Although the firm is making development, it may not yet be profitable at this point. The third stage is where funding is granted for substantial expansion of a firm which has rising sales volumes that is either breaking even or has reached early profitability. Funds are used for additional plant expansion, marketing, and working capital needs. The fourth stage, which is where the business is now mature and lucrative and it's expanding, financing is available for the firm that is projected to go public within the next 6 to 12 months. Bridge finance is also frequently used at this stage and is arranged in such a way that it may be repaid using the profits of a public offering. If there were early investors who desire to reduce or liquidate their stakes, it's usually done at this stage. This may also be done during a transition of management in order to acquire the ownership of former management, whether it's families or allies, before the firm goes public. The final stage of financing, we look at acquisition and leveraging. Traditional acquisition speaks to money being raised with the aim of buying another firm. Smaller firms typically use this stage to grow the size of its operations and profit by benefiting from the economies of scale when they acquire or purchase another company. Leverage buyouts speaks to the takeover of a company that utilizes mainly debt to finance the buyout. Buyouts are usually extremely risky operations as they employ the buyer's stock as well as loans secured by the target company's assets. I will now hand over to my colleagues who will discuss financing options.
Financing options. Like large corporations, entrepreneurs too must ensure that they are aware of the financing options that are available and ensure that they are thoroughly assessed before making a concrete decision. Entrepreneurs are advised to consider factors relating to the stage of the business life cycle, the industry or sector it operates in, and the capital intensity requirements of the business model. As seen here on this slide, there are 5 main types of financing options which will be explored. Type 1. Seed financing or bootstrapping. This is the first step in the financial growth stage where funds are generated using personal resources like savings, credit cards, or small personal loans to defray expenses relating to the business venture, like business plans and proposals, market research, and the like. However, given that these resources are usually limited, the bootstrapping technique is used, which involves creatively tapping into their friends and family's resources through a bartering system to reduce the amounts of cash needed to capitalize on the business idea. That is, planting a seed and to watering it daily so that it will begin to sprout. The financial status, main activities, and entrepreneur characteristics are summarized for your quick understanding. We move now into startup financing. Now you may ask, isn't startup financing and seed financing the same? The simple answer is no. It is important to note that startup financing are the funds that are used to get the business up and running. At this stage, we find entrepreneurs conducting market research and testing, purchasing inventory, and preparing the product for sale. Like a plant, this is the vegetative stage, whereby it is important to provide the needed nutrients so that it continues to grow. First round financing. These are the first set of funds that are received through an investment. Example, angel investors or venture capital funds. Whilst it is exciting to know someone will invest in your business, entrepreneurs must be wary of the limitations. Some limitations are reduction in ownership, a required hierarchy, overall costs of financing being expensive, and financing being scarce. Second round financing is our next type of financing and includes mezzanine and liquidity financing. Second round financing is the type of financing which speaks to any form of financing that occurs after the business has achieved a specific level of revenue and profit and is considered established. Mezzanine financing is a method used by businesses to raise funds for specific projects or to assist with acquisitions. Research has shown that this financing method is commonly used when businesses are expanding, as the debts are usually unsecured, that is, no collateral being pledged, and there is no specified amortization for borrowed funds. Liquidity financing. When we think of liquidity, the first question that should come to mind is, how easy is it to turn my assets into cash? Entrepreneurs engage in this type of financing to turn their investors' injections into money, whether it be through recapitalization or otherwise, especially since the investors are expected to reap a return on their funds. Finally, we have the stage where the business is considered to be mature and its roots have been well grounded. Our seed has moved from a sprout to a seedling, then to the vegetative and budding stages, withstood the discomforts of the flowering stage, and is now at the ripening stage. The season stage. A business is considered to rely heavily on retained earnings, which is a major source of finance. However, due to several external factors, entrepreneurs may explore other avenues such as accessing commercial loans. These funds are usually utilized to maintain or gain competitive advantage, increase market share, and implement cost efficient strategies. Activity 3.3 challenges you to review an entrepreneurial venture and apply your knowledge gained. Before we conclude, we would like for you to take a moment and have an appreciation for the differences between internal and external financing options. This will allow for a greater comprehension of the topic and will act as a guide when matching the various stages of finances to a business's life cycle.
Thank you, ladies, for such an exceptional presentation. I'm sure that the class was able to develop a clear and concise understanding of the stages and types of financing. Let us recap the main points of the presentation. Any business venture requires financing. Therefore, entrepreneurs must decide where to receive their funding, how to invest, and how much to borrow. The stages of financing include the early stage, the expansion or development stage, the acquisition and leverages buyout financing stage. The major types of financing used in entrepreneurship include seed financing or bootstrapping, startup financing, first round financing, second round financing, mezzanine or liquidity stage financing, and seasoned financing. So before we conclude our presentation, I would like to leave you all with a quick food for thought. In order to harvest the fruits of financial entrepreneurial success, we must first ensure that our market grounds are fertile enough to plant the seeds of pre-commercialization, that our stems of development financing experiences continuous growth, and our branches of acquisition inevitably expands. With that, we've come to the end of this presentation. On behalf of the members of Group 3, I'd like to thank you all for your continued interest. We look forward to your participation in the activities listed. Once again, thank you and good day.